This is one of my sketchbooks, and inside it, there are only 2 paintings that have ever been completed, and neither of them actually look good. That's just what I feel. And it led me to think that every single creation that I put in the sketchbook will never be completed, and it will never be good, because it just has this reputation in my head of being a sketchbook that nothing good can ever come out of it. And that is kind of what happens at the end of this video. And this is just my creative process of trying to make something that looks good, but in the end it doesn't, and I have to just accept that and move on. But it's very frustrating to continuously be making things, and so I'm at a stage where no matter how much effort or time I put into creating an art piece, it doesn't have the desired effect that I would like it to. Every time I try, it feels like none of them will actually turn out to look good. So this is just me recording my journey of being at this point, so then I know that eventually I'll move on from this and I'll actually be able to make better pieces. But I did want to record and keep a note of this point of my life when I'm just not happy with anything I produce. One of the artists that really inspire me is called Valerie Lynn on YouTube, and I just love how she's able to just sit down and create such beautiful pieces, and the way she films her videos is just, it's like a story or a movie, and she's able to just share so many of her thoughts and just helpful pieces of advice that for so many people, they find it inspiring. Recently, I've been watching a lot of her videos. They are like a source of motivation to keep going, because it feels, I've had an art block once before. This point, it feels like I'm kind of plateaued. I'm not making any progress in my art. At this point, it feels like I should just stop and maybe give up on art, or at least for some time, just take a big break and just forget about it. But then at the same time, I don't want to. I want to keep creating. However, it's just that feeling of frustration when every single time I create, nothing good comes out of it, which I mentioned before. But yeah, so her art it's one of the things that after watching one of her videos, I just feel so inspired to go and try and create something of my own. So as I created this piece, I watched one of her videos. I find it just so mind-blowing how she is just able to put pieces of paint onto paper or a canvas and just make such beautiful art pieces. And it just makes me wonder why I'm not able to do that yet. And I do know, because she understands how to get the desired effects that she wants. She understands how different colors can create something so beautiful. So she has the knowledge of how to make art that I don't have. And yes, I know what I need to do to improve. I need to learn color theory. I need to learn how light works. How if light is coming from one area, and how to make the painting have depth, there's so much that I know that I need to know, but I don't know that yet. And one of the problem is that I don't know how to learn these things, because art isn't something that I've learnt. Well, I'm self-taught, so it's just my own experience that helps me grow, and YouTube videos, and well, possibly some books. I do need to go and learn things from books because they provide a lot of knowledge that I'm probably missing out on since I haven't used a book to learn, and I think that would actually be quite helpful. So in this point of creating, I was watching how she layered watercolors to make the skin look so vibrant. Like, it just looked so real. That's what I'm trying to say. She understands how to make the right colors, how to mix colors that are right for pieces of her artwork. And that's another thing I don't understand how to do. So my colors have become really like saturated, and I don't water them down, and I just become lazy over time because that feeling of, oh, whatever, it's not like this piece is ever going to be good anyways, that sort of like pessimistic feeling causes me to just give up in a sense when I'm creating nowadays, and I'm not putting in the effort that I should be, because if I do put in that effort, it feels even more painful to have to realize that even though I put that extra effort, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be. Now that I think about it, this is kind of my own view on failure, because I feel like every time I'm creating, it ends up as failure. So I'm just realizing that this video is how I'm explaining to myself, or just reflecting on the way I'm dealing with this failure. So I haven't given up on my art, and I know that over time I'll get better. It's just being unable to create something good over and over again, and this feeling of failure over and over again. It's just being able to accept failure and recognize that it will help you grow is something that I'm kind of experiencing right now. And I'm making this video so I can look back on it once I've moved on and grown as an artist, so that I can see the points that I've struggled in making art. And one day when I'm able to my worst art will actually be 10 times better than my current best art, at that point, then I can actually just see that how much I've improved. And that's something that I'd like to be able to see, because I have a sketchbook that from about 2-3 years ago. It was during the time of COVID in 2020, so 4 years ago. Wow. During that time I actually picked up art again after not doing art in a very long time, and I started with watercolor, and that used to be my favorite medium for so long. And I actually kept a sketchbook where that was the time where I really enjoyed doing art, and I think at that time I was able to make art that I was proud of, and I really loved making, like, painting. And I couldn't find that sketchbook now, but to look back on it, then perhaps I could see how I've improved. However, I do still remember what I've created. The problem is that when I think about what I created in the past and what I'm creating right now, I don't visually see any improvement. Anyways, so in this point of the painting, I've kind of just completely given up, and I just know that this is another piece that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. I just have to write the date, because by doing that I'm able to, realize when I made this and compare it to the point I am now. Like when I look back at previous art, I can see what time and when I made that art. Yeah. So since I've given up on it, I just felt like destroying it. So I poured paint all over it. And then I just smeared paint all over it because, I've given up on this painting. I've also noticed myself having very little attachment to my art nowadays, because I've destroyed maybe 3 of my art within this year so far. And I'm curious to see how this will affect me in the future, like if I'm able to make good art, and if I have that same little attachment to it, or I actually, would never think of destroying my art in the future. So here is what this this art piece turned out to look like in the end. And now I'm going to actually compare it to my art that I did maybe 1 year ago. Nothing in this sketchbook I completely think is actually good at all. And these are some of the watercolor pieces that I've made, just to compare it with the watercolor thing that I did today. And now I'm going to compare it with some of my best artworks. Now this is an artist study by Mark Powell, who does ballpoint pen drawings, and I actually traced this, so I don't even know if that counts as a good artwork. So the one on the right is the one I did. And then here, this is an oil pastel drawing that I did. This is an acrylic piece that I did, where I just experimented with colors. I painted this a few days ago, and that's that compared to the one I made today.